What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? How you all doing today? Um, what's up, everybody? How you all doing today? I got a question for you all. That's your girl Cynthia G, huh? We're gonna talk about it. Hope you having a beautiful Sunday as well. Yeah, I'm out of YouTube jail. Yeah. So yeah, I'm out. I'm fresh out. I'm fresh out the YouTube jail, y'all. Um, Let me get my videos up. So basically today we're going to talk about Cynthia G and Dr. Umar Johnson. They were recently on a panel having a discussion. And what's up, Miss Howard on YouTube? What's up, Kiana? They were having a discussion on what's up, Keena? Oh, my bad. What's up, Mass Sketch? My first time seeing you, Mass Sketch. What's up? What's up, Jahan? So, you all can't hear me? Well, we're gonna talk about Cynthia G with the truth. Now, you know, I don't what's up, King Tabernacle? What's up, Maddie? I don't discriminate. Everybody gets the truth told about them, and I even tell the truth on myself. So at the end of the day, the problem with the world is people want to come up with solutions that don't involve character. If the solution doesn't involve character, then it's not a solution. You can't have a solution without character. What's up, Kenya? I'm gonna say it again. You can't have a solution without character. So what people are trying to do is people trying to fix a problem without involving character. And character starts with the individual. How do you fix a problem? If you claim that a group of people have this big, huge problem, how do you fix the problem without addressing the individual? It's impossible. I say this all the time. Even if white people get on a spaceship tomorrow and leave the planet, you still have to deal with black culture and black people. You think it'd be good if they leave? If they even try to leave, black people will stop them from trying to leave. You want to see unity? You want to see unity? Let these white folks say, y'all can have the planet, y'all the kings and the queens, y'all the chosen people, y'all can have the planet, we are leaving. If you ever want to see black folks unify, you will see black folks unify when white folks try to leave. You will see the masses of black people trying to prevent them from leaving. So getting rid of white people does not solve anything because you still have to deal with black culture. And black culture is anti-God. What's up, Grace? I'll say it again. Black culture is anti-God. Why is it anti-God? Because God is a spirit, and we must worship God in spirit and in truth. And we're also made in God's image. So if we're made in God's image, and God is a spirit, and we must worship God in spirit and in truth, then that means your identity has to be rooted in spirit and in truth. So that means if God is a spirit and we are made in God's image, that means we are spirit. That means you focus on something outside of the spirit, you are essentially living a what? Lie. This is why the problem with Black America will never get fixed, because Black America itself is a lie. Now, we're going to get on. Somebody said after 20 years of killing white farmers in South Africa, they are now asking them to return. Yeah, because who's going to farm the land? Again, it's not a solution if it's not based in character. So you can't have a solution not based in character. And what you all got to understand is that what I saw on this journey is that over these past 2.5 years, I realized the issue with this entire thing is character. That's all. It's character. They told people you can't enjoy the world unless you do this. This is what they're telling you. You can't have access to this world. You can't enjoy the world if you don't do this. This is what all this is about. Nobody said you can't, if you don't do this, you can't serve God. You can't believe it. No, you can't have access to this world. The devil will always give you what you want, but the devil will never let you enjoy it. You can have this world, but you will never enjoy it. How do we know this? You got access to this whole world. You can travel. You can go out, get your house, have a car, all these nice things. But guess what? They still putting chemtrails in the sky. They still putting GMOs in the food. They still putting pesticides on the plant life. They're still doing everything in the quote unquote world that you are enjoying. It's a facade. It's fake. It's not real. I remember me and a friend of mine, we were in Miami. We were going out that night. And I remember I got clean. You know, we got dressed up to go out. And I was really intent on going out. I was really excited about going out, meeting some bad women. I was just so excited. You know, I was planning my whole day around going out to this club in Miami on South Beach. It's one of the popular clubs too. It's not Cameo. It's another one. There's one of the popular clubs. But anyway, there's a long line. So I'm going to the front of the line and I'm talking, working my magic, trying to, get us in, cut the line. I used to specialize in talking to the door person and getting in. I specialized in that. I specialized in, hustle hard mouthpiece. I specialize in, I'm not waiting in line and I'm not paying. We finna talk. So I specialize in that. But anyway, I'm talking to the guy and we talking, building a rapport with him. I had a system, and the door opens up and I think like 3 people walked out. When the door opened and you looked inside, you literally saw smoke and mirrors. Like, I mean, literally, there was nobody in the club, and it was literally smoke and mirrors because you saw the mirrors and you saw the smoke. Y'all know the club. You went to South, you've been on South Beach, but smoke and mirrors. And then I thought for a second, ain't nobody in there. Then I looked to my left, and down my left, it was a street long line full of people waiting to get in. And so my boy saw this. And he said, man, I can't do it. He said, ain't nobody in the club, man. I can't do it. I can't wait. I can't do all. I can't do it. So he said he didn't want to do it. I get it. I get him saying he didn't want to do it because he looked in there and he saw the club for what it was, that it was literally smoke and mirrors. Now, fast forward to 2022. Now I'm the one looking at the world. And when they opened the door up to the world, guess what I saw? I saw smoke and mirrors. It's an illusion. It's not real. All of this stuff is contrived. It's not real. These people have orchestrated this thing the entire step of the way, and we think we're just obliviously living and having a great time. No. All of this stuff is provided for you. This is the world for a reason. Be in the world and not of it. What does that mean, Blanche? That means you can't even desire the things of the world. You can desire love. You can desire family. You can desire companionship. You can desire friendship. You can desire, but you can't desire the world. If you desire this world, you're going to have to sit under King Charles talking about no country can afford to fight climate change. Well, if no country can afford to fight climate change, then how do we fight climate change? Well, I'll tell you, we all come together under one government to defeat climate change. But guess what? After all the scientific research and propaganda, after all the woke people running their mouth, after all the celebrities talking, after all of this, they're going to get to the table and say, you know what? The real problem with all this carbon and messing with the planet are the people. You all are the people. You all are the problem, because you all are the ones giving off all this carbon. Just go look up the rhetoric surrounding climate change and tell me if you believe it's not going to eventually lead to the problem being you. They're already saying that animals are emitting too much carbon. So if animals are emitting too much carbon, then what do you think a human being is going to do? And when I talk like this, people hate it. People hate it because I'm telling them you got to be accountable. We got accountability and responsibility. When it comes to God, we account for our abilities. You give an account. Responsibility, you respond to your abilities. You got to give an account and you got to respond to it. So that means it's action taking place with accountability and responsibility. What they're telling us is, and you and I is that it's somebody else's fault. They're setting everybody up. It's someone else's fault, just for in the end, they're going to say it's your fault. They're saying it's everybody else's fault, just for in the end, they're going to say it's your fault. So at the end of the day, when I'm talking about solutions, they are all character based, all of them. And this is why I get so much flack and slack and hate and disdain, is because my solutions aren't based in emotions. It's your job to be a good person, regardless of the incentive. It's your job to be a good father, regardless of the incentive. It's your job to be a good mother, regardless of the incentive. To be righteous is to do things simply because it's the right thing to do. To be righteous is to be in right standing with God. And how are we in right standing with God? Is that we do things simply because it is the right thing to do. No incentive. God doesn't have an incentive. What incentive does God have to love you? There's none. Because this whole entire time, we've caused God heartache and grief. So what incentive does God have to love us? God doesn't have an incentive. God simply says the right thing to do is to love them, and to love them unconditionally. The worst thing ever created was black love, because black love put a condition on love. Ironically, when we came up with black love, we stopped getting married. We started having more abortions. We started killing. Isn't it ironic that when black love became a thing, we started behaving worse? But before there was black love, we behaved better. Just make that make sense for me. Make that make sense for me. Because you can't make love conditional. I just said that God is a spirit and we must worship God in spirit and in truth. So if your identity, if we're made in God's image and your identity is not a spiritual one, then you are living a lie. And that's the problem with black people. And that's the problem with being black, is that it's a lie. The devil wants you black. God wants you to be like him. One is hate, one is love. One is hate, one is love. So at the end of all of this, you got to look in the mirror and you got to love yourself. When you look in the mirror, you have to love yourself. Not this physical self that you see, not this flesh. You got to love who God is in you. Forget the physical. Forget the physical. So we're going to talk about Dr. Umar Johnson and Cynthia G. And I'm going to give my take on it. Now, let me preface this by saying Cynthia G said that in order to fix this problem, we have to abort black male babies. Now, I want you to think about what she's saying. Now, essentially, she gets on black men for wanting to have a spouse or girlfriend that is not black. But her solution literally says Black women should procreate with other races of men or not have any male children. Either or is genocidal. So the problem is her solution isn't based in character. But guess what? Neither is Dr. Umar Johnson's. The funny thing about these two is they're both the same because they're both trying to give you all a solution that doesn't rest in the person. The solution rests in you looking in the mirror and saying, I'm going to do what's right simply because it's the right thing to do. And I'm not going to make it about myself. I'm going to make it about what God wants. Does anybody ever ask that anymore? What does God want? Not what I want. What does God want? I have to ask God that every day. What do you want? I know what I want, but what do you want? Do we even submit like that anymore? Is that type of submission even around anymore? What does God want? Do we even ask that anymore? No. We say, I want to indulge in the world. I want to indulge in the world. What does God want? I don't know. I want to indulge in the world. And I'll fit God around my indulgence in the world. Everybody has a lot of advice for me, but everybody giving me advice, not one person that's giving me advice ever gives me advice that rests in character. Not one person that gives me advice ever tells me to do what God wants you to do. No one ever tells me, have faith, trust God. That I know. Now, the folks that don't know me on social media tell me all the time, keep up the good work. I'm praying for you. People that don't know me on social media give me all the support I need. But the Bible says that a prophet has no honor at home. But let's get into Cynthia G. Okay, let's get to it. Let's see if we can do this real quick. Let me see.
Anything that you're saying for you to tell Black women that procreate with Black men, which my son is a Black male, to go and abort their Black boys is absolutely ludicrous, because if you have ever had to terminate your pregnancy, which I have because I'm disabled, and it was the most gut-wrenching thing I've ever gone through, you don't know what that feels like and what it does to a person. So for you to go through and spread to the masses.
How does it feel to be left a single mother where the man tells you, I'm not going to raise my child at all, and you got to take responsibility? How gut-wrenching.
I am a single mother, okay? And I am raising my son alone. And I'm a single mother because my son's father was murdered, okay? So I do know what it is to be a single mother and to raise my son alone. So you don't sit here and
psychologically damaging as an abortion. People get abortions all day, every day. Stop it.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do have abortions every day and all day. And if you've never gone through it, you don't know what it's like to go through and have that and to go through the trauma, because it's traumatic.
And you can't speak for every woman. It's not traumatic for every woman.
And neither can you. Have you had one?
I don't need to have one to know that it's not traumatic for every woman. It's not.
Well, if you've never gone through it, then don't speak on something you can't attest to.
No, actually, I can speak on it. I worked at an abortion clinic where
then you should know. If you worked at an abortion clinic, then you should know. When you walk up those doors, you've got people with signs and everything else protesting, and they don't even know why you're there. Okay, it is a very traumatic experience, and it is nothing that you should promote. It should be somebody else's personal experience if they want to go through it. But for you to sit up there and to tell people when you've not walked a day in their shoes that they should sit up there and throw away their kids when you have not gone through it yourself is the most hypocrite thing that I have ever heard in my life.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. telling a woman that she needs to be a single mother and go through the hardship of being a single mother in poverty, you're wrong for telling them
Who
that.
said that they would be in poverty?
Do what's best for them.
You're talking about two things that I have experienced myself, being a single mother of a Black male and have terminated my pregnancy. I have done both. So you're speaking to somebody who has raised her child alone and is going to school to be a doctor. Okay, so to tell me my son is a dusty is bull.
If you had gotten an abortion, and if it would have been much easier to do that if you had gotten an abortion. Keep it a buck. You will not.
So I apologize for the echo earlier in the video, but so you all can hear Cynthia G talking. Now, here goes the issue with Black women and Black culture. I'm the first one to tell you all to stop entertaining these foolish, low character men. Stop entertaining them. Stop sleeping with them and stop having children with them. You will never get Future or Chris Brown to act like a righteous man. It's not going to happen. It doesn't exist. The man's either going to be prudent and wise or he's going to be foolish. There is no in between. So this fantasy that you can get this guy with all the swag, all the money, and also have all the character is absolutely not true. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. And if the guy did exist, more than likely, he wouldn't want you. So what I need you all to stop doing is to stop procreating with these men. That's going to require self-discipline. Stop having sex and getting pregnant by these men, because clearly the 17 forms of preventative pregnancy doesn't work for you all. So don't have sex. Stop having sex. The type of man that you all want does not exist. He doesn't. I'm sorry. I don't care how charming he is. I don't care how good looking he is. I don't care how tall he is. I don't care how much money he has. The man doesn't exist. He's either going to be wise or he's going to be foolish. Either he's going to be righteous or he's going to have no character. That's it. So you got to make a decision. The gray area was created for chaos. There is no such thing as the gray area. God told you all to be either hot or cold. If you want to be lukewarm, you are an abomination to God, and God will spit you out of his mouth. That's how bad it is to be in the gray area. That's how bad it is to think you can have the best of both worlds. That's how bad it is. It's an abomination. It's wicked. Because God knows if a person is not firmly planted on something, they're going to be used by the devil completely. There was a saying that used to say, a man that won't stand for something will fall for anything. A man that's not fit to die for something is not fit to live. What happened to all these quotes? I'll tell you, now it's real. Now it's real. Now it's real. Everybody getting exposed now because it's real. The devil came from behind that curtain and said, I'm real. And most people was cowards and turned their head and walked away. Just because you ignore the devil does not mean he's not going to terrorize you. In the Bible, there's a scripture where the God talks about how the devil going in the end times, he gonna wear out the saints. You know what it means to get wore out? You ever got whooped and got wore out? You ever been wore out in a workout, in a fight? You ever been wore out? The devil's going to wear out the saints. Just because you ignore the devil doesn't mean he's not going to wear you out. Y'all think by ignoring the devil, he gonna leave you alone. No, it's not how that works. The Bible says resist the devil and he will flee, not ignore. Resist means some type of engagement. I'm just going to ignore the devil. He's going to leave me alone. No, It's not how that works. Now you got Cynthia G saying, abort the baby. Don't have the baby. But what she's not saying is practice better sexual habits. Stop sleeping with men who aren't going to be a father to the child. That's a reflection on you, ladies. Stop sleeping with men that aren't going to be a father to your child, because that's a reflection on you. So if you lay down with a bum, that means you're a bum. You can't trick me with lace fronts and eyelashes and nails and degrees and cars and Benzes and none of that. I'm not deceived by none of it. I can tell what type of woman you are based on the men you deal with and have dealt with. I don't care what you tell me. I look at who you've been with, who you are with, and I know who you are. You can't trick me. You can trick the rest of them, but you can't trick me. I look at your baby daddy. I look at all of it, and I know that's the type of woman that she is. And it would be different if women came up and said, you know what? I made a mistake. My poor character caused me to make these poor choices. That's different, but they don't say that. They say it's the man's fault. Get an abortion. Date white men. Everything but dealing with the person in the mirror. Everything but dealing with the person in the mirror. You can't have love without accountability. It's impossible. And Black folks have been trying to do this for years. It's never going to work, ever. It's never going to work.
It would have been more easier if I would have gotten an abortion.
Terminated your pregnancy, stop it.
I say that again?
And you wouldn't have struggled as much going to school if you had gotten an abortion. It would have been a lot easier on you. Keep it a buck. You struggled.
My son is going to school. My son, are you listening? Be quiet for a second so you can hear what people are saying. My son is going to school, to medical school. He is going to school to be a doctor. And I did that.
Okay, so what's the point?
And I did that because his father was murdered. Listen, open up your ears and listen. So it wasn't the choice to be a single parent. I was put into a position.
If you don't teach your enemies a lesson.
So, again, now that's just a gist of who Cynthia G is and her mindset. Now, Cynthia G says a lot of stuff, but I don't disagree with everything she says. I disagree with her when it comes to accountability. I disagree when it comes to accountability. When I say things like stop having sex, wait till marriage, I get dismissed. But yet, most of these problems come from premarital sex. Abortion, STDs, messed up families, relationships, molestation, pedophilia. All this stuff comes from premarital sex. So when I say it as an option, I get dismissed. But then folks want to come back and say, I don't agree with Blanche. What don't you agree with? What don't you agree with? Ask me, what have I told you all that's a lie? Tell me. Tell me one thing I said to you all that's not true. Please tell me. What have I lied about? What have I lied about? Y'all are telling me that you can do whatever you want to do and there's no consequence. In what world? Y'all are going against the very law of nature. Who's the guy that said for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction? Was that Sir Isaac Newton? Who was that? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And y'all seem to think that don't exist when it comes to Black people. In what world are y'all living in? If you throw something in the air, it's going to come back down. Except Bobby Smurder's hat. Bobby Smurder threw the hat and never came back down. But besides Bobby Smurder's hat, you throw something up, it's coming back down. You might throw a bird up and it keep flying, but most objects you throw up in the air, they coming back down. This is Black culture. And Cynthia G is a part of Black culture. Umar Johnson is a part of Black culture. If you really want to get Black folks mad, reject Black culture. And you're going to get Black folks upset. Reject Black culture and most Black folks don't want to reject Black culture because they don't want to be going around their friends and family and be ostracized. I don't care because I know at the end of the day, most of these folks are demonic and wicked anyway. And when push comes to shove, they don't get the mark of the beast anyway. So it's best I cut ties now anyway. Let's go to some more videos. Let's go to some more videos. I'm trying to find this
It's
other.
well known to everyone that I believe that the biggest issue that we have in the Black community.
Cynthia G again. And this is not to pick on Cynthia G. This is to shed some light on why these solutions never work. They're not based in character. They're not. They're not based in character. That's why they're never going to work.
Everyone that I believe that the biggest issue that we have in the Black community is low self-esteem. I think a lot of things are symptomatic of our low self-value. For some of us, there's no self-value at all, and I think that that's indicative in the decisions that we make, whether it's voting, whether it's dating, whether it's, what we broadcast on social media, who we give our money to. There's a ton of different ways that we exhibit our low self-esteem. And I think a lot of other groups, especially the political parties, they take advantage of that. We've become predictable. They already know who we are. In order to build up the Black community, what we're first going to have to do is build up our self-esteem. So the reason I bring these issues up to.
Now, I actually agree with Cynthia G. And the problem is with self-esteem is it's impossible to have self-esteem if you're Black. Why do I say that? Because if you're Black, you're automatically oppressed by white. And if you're oppressed by white, then that means you're inferior to white. And if you're inferior to white, then why even try? It's impossible to have self-esteem as being Black. That's why most Black self-esteem is rooted in accomplishments. It's not rooted in character. Black self-esteem is rooted in what you can do and what you've done. And the reason is because subconsciously, you're already looking at a situation and you're saying, I'm going to lose or I've lost. If being Black means to be oppressed, then that means you're oppressed by white. And if you're oppressed by white, that means that you are inferior to white. That is the subconscious existence of every Black person that identifies as Black in America. I am inferior to white. It is impossible to have an inferiority complex and have self-esteem. It is impossible to have an inferiority complex and to have self-esteem. So what she's saying is 100% true. Low self-esteem, it stems from you agreeing to the notion that you are oppressed. This is why I don't give any energy to racism, white supremacy, or any of it. Because once you say white supremacy, then what's the counter to white supremacy? Black inferiority. What's the counter to white? Black. Subconsciously, your mind already does it. So once you say white supremacy, you're also saying Black inferiority. So what I said was, I don't subscribe to any of it. I don't believe in it. I don't subscribe to it. I don't give it any energy. My source is God. not white people, not America, not the government, not black people, but God. Again, God is a spirit, and we must worship God in spirit and in truth. If we're made in God's image and you say you're black, then you're automatically living a lie. Being black will never work. Being black was designed for the entire planet to be black. You all just didn't know they're going to use you all to do it because you all make it look so good. The only group of people, women on the planet, making being a single mother look good is black women. The only group of men on the planet making being a criminal look good is black men. This is black culture. This is black culture. It's never going to work. It's never going to be what you all are trying to make it to be, because that's not what black was designed for. Being black was designed by Satan to usher in the Antichrist. And you're going to say, well, Blanche, you're going too far. I don't disagree. Don't worry about it. Time's going to tell. Don't worry about it. The same folks talking about I can't breathe right now with their fists up in the air are going to be the same folks saying I literally can't breathe when they push this climate change agenda. Mark my words. Mark my words. But Cynthia G is right. She is right.
Everyone is so that you can recognize the symptomology of no self-value, and then you can honestly try to take a look at your own self and your own behavior and try and figure out, if are these things that I'm exhibiting, am I, contributing to the destruction of my community? How am I doing that? A lot of people won't go through this process. Going through the process of being honest with yourself and understanding what you're doing to contribute to your own deplorable circumstances is something very hard to do. Self-discovery and self-awareness is something very hard to do. But it is something that we need to do. You have a child that is a mixture of both races, one race who historically hates the other one and is still trying to destroy that race. You have a child that is the mix of between those races where literally there's no point in history or present where they've ever been in a loving situation, where they've ever got along, or where they've ever lived in harmony. So once this child starts learning about the history of each side of his parents, he's going to be completely confused. He or she is going to be confused and not even understand, probably not even understand how that person how they even came to be born, really. Or it makes them confused and think because they are born, then it means racism is over, which that's not the reality either. I see it in my nephews who, if you talk about white people, because they're half of their lineage is white, they are confused about you even talking about the perils of white people. But then they also do have to suffer the downfalls and the oppression that black people face at the hands of white people. So what are they supposed to do in a reality with that? You're creating psychologically damaged kids from the moment that.
Now, do you think Cynthia G would have a child with a white man? Do you think Cynthia G would have a child with the white man? Do you think she'd marry a white man? Of course she would. So clearly her issue can't be with white people. Cynthia G is talking to you all with someone else's hair on her head. That tells me everything. Because deep down inside, no matter what she says, she's putting someone else's hair on her head to look a certain way, to feel a certain way. So off face value, I can already tell she doesn't love herself. I said it. Black women buy 85% of all of the hair care products. 85% out of all of the women in the world, black women. That's an epidemic. That means that many black women out there are struggling with low self-esteem or identity issues or esteem issues. 85% of all hair care products. So don't tell me you love yourself if you're investing, if you're literally creating an entire industry off of one thing, your hair. Ain't nobody white telling you to do it. Ain't nobody black telling you to do it. That is an ingrained low self-esteem because, again, when you say white is supreme, it means that black is not. So Cynthia G is running her mouth, but she got a head full of fake hair. She would never get on this live and take that muskrat off her head. She won't do it. She won't do it. Somebody said, what does your shirt mean? Joe Biden said, if you don't know who to vote for between me and Donald Trump, then you ain't black. So basically, Joe Biden showed you that you can be controlled through your skin color, perceived skin color, because you're really brown and variations of brown. So if a person has control over me based on the identity of black, then I'll just say, I ain't black, I'm free. That's where that came from. You're not going to control me with a false label. So I ain't black, I'm free. And I advise you to adopt that same mindset so you don't keep getting deceived and tricked by what's going on, because they're going to use your blackness against you. But anyway, Cynthia G doesn't wear her real hair, and it tells me everything. And I know for a fact when she talks to white men or dates white men, she doesn't talk like this. When she dates white men, she's on her best behavior. I know this. Y'all don't know it. I know it. I see this all the time. Let's continue.
That white woman pushes him out of the room. White people shouldn't even be around the black children. They shouldn't be allowed to adopt them, should not be allowed to raise them. As far as I'm concerned, the whole Evo albinoid population should be banned from even being around black people, just based off their actions historically. We don't even have to include what they're currently doing now. We can just go by history. They shouldn't be around them, let alone raising black kids. And this self-hate manifests itself, but if you don't understand the psychology behind it and how it manifests itself, then you're just going to think it's him just wanting to be in a relationship because he found a woman that he loves. No, he went and found a white woman because he wanted to, number one, get white acceptance, and number two, alienate himself from his blackness.
Now, I'm on another video, but let me ask y'all a question. Who honestly believes that because you date another race, you get accepted by the race? And people talk, but don't actually contextualize what they're saying. What she's saying is that black men date white women to be accepted by white people, when many of you all would argue that it's the opposite. Many of you all would argue that when you date white women, you aren't accepted by white society. But then again, how could you? But then again, how could you? There are a bunch of liberal white people who welcome interracial relationships. There are a bunch of racist white folks who don't. It's not a uniform thing. But because we're so emotionally traumatized, we put all white people in this one category. But we know they're not. There are liberal white people. There are racist white people. There are white folks that don't care. There's country white people, intelligent white people, slow white people, athletic white people. There's whatever's in the white community, it's in the black community, it's in the Asian community, it's in the Hispanic community. These are people, these are human traits. And you're making them white because you feel inferior. That's all. You feel inferior. What black man is Cynthia G gonna date talking like this? What black man would date her? There's no way she wants to be with a black man. There's no way. So clearly she wants to date a non-black man. I don't care what she says about white folks. I guarantee if a white dude want to get with her, she will get with him if she isn't already. Because she can't look in the mirror and take that muskrat off her head. She can't walk outside without the eyelashes and the lipstick and the muskrat. She looking like Daniel Boone. She can't do it. So I know at the core of all of this, she doesn't love herself. But how could you if you're inferior to white? But how could you if you feel inferior to white? Let's go to another video. Let me get to Umar Johnson and her.
Generic Viagra in CVS costs $45.
So now we're going to look at Dr. Umar Johnson. And guess what? I put him in the same boat as Cynthia G. He ain't no different. Not to me. All these folks working for the system. All of them. Let's listen to Dr. Umar Johnson.
Umar Johnson and Cynthia G participated in the panel of 5 people on a war consider supposed to be estimate something different. And
has it affected Black men? Absolutely. In your world?
Absolutely.
After that, I want to then talk about Dr. Umar Johnson's conversation.
Cynthia G, white supremacy, does it exist in your world?
Absolutely.
And has it affected Black men?
Absolutely, it exists. And Black men have worked in tandem with white supremacy since they've become in contact with it. And this is why I say in the Black community, we have very disingenuous, very dishonest discussions, especially when it's regarding Black men, because we do have a Black male worshiping culture. So what we do within that culture, and Umar Johnson is showing it today, is absolve Black men from any accountability for what they've done. Number one, we wouldn't be in a system of white supremacy had it not been for Black men. So if you want to go all the way back to history, then let's go back to history when Black men were selling their own people into white supremacy. Let's go back into history when 16 years off the plantation, Black men were worried about a war being waged on them. They were worried about getting access to white women. That's what you were worried about. And it's interesting. There's a reason why I feel like Umar focused mostly on me and Hope's attitudes, and it's because he can't accurately answer the question. He mentioned names, not accomplishments. And the reason being is because
I think he mentioned those names specifically because the accomplishments of those people don't have to be explained.
Right, but those accomplishments are also accomplishments that I've heard Umar Johnson speak negatively about, specifically the civil rights movement and how damaging it was to Black people.
And this is true. Dr. Umar Johnson has been very vocal about the civil rights movement and the damage it caused, and now he's trying to use it to benefit his argument. But I'm going to say this. The civil rights movement wasn't led or started by Black people. So all the history of all this fight and revolution was all orchestrated. None of it was real. None of it was real. None of it. All the stuff we done been taught and learned, it was all orchestrated. It was all plotted. It was all planned out. It's all a facade. None of it was real. Your whole history is a lie. You know, we love the Matrix. We love the Matrix, but we never really listen or watch the movie from a non-emotional standpoint. We spent the whole movie wanting Neo to figure out he was the one, but we missed the most important lesson. Morpheus told him, "You have been living in a dream world, Neo. You have been living in a dream world, Black people. None of this stuff is real. None of it. It's all orchestrated. All of it." Now you're going to sit back and you're going to say, well, if it's all fake, then what does that mean for me? I'll tell you. So if everything they've given you is fake, now you got to figure out, well, what's real? If all this is fake, then what's real? To find out what's real, you can't trust man. So you can't trust what somebody's telling you. You can't trust another person. You got to go to a higher source to figure out who you are. You're not going to be able to find your identity in this world because everybody has something for you. You a Moor, you a Hebrew Israelite, you Black, you African American, you Negro, you indigenous, you an alien. All that, everybody got something for you. But you asking everybody else except who you should be asking, and that's God. You ask God, who God revealed to me who I am. And I guarantee who you are will have nothing to do with the color of your skin. Trust me. This is why I call it the Blatrix, because I realize that we have been under a system of control for so long that we think this stuff is reality. And the moment you take a step back and look and see it's not reality, then you can see that it's all fake. All of it's fake. All of it. Somebody mentioned my grandparents owned 2 homes. So did my grandparents. My grandparents owned. Matter of fact, when I was coming up, and I'm from Sacramento, California. When I was coming up, here they go. The Bible isn't real either. I guarantee y'all this one thing. I'm telling y'all this right now. When them UN troops are on American soil, and them Chinese are over here, and they pushing them that new world order, that great reset agenda, and them drones in the sky, I guarantee the sage ain't gonna work, the crystals won't work, the chakra's not gonna work, the tarot card's not gonna work. You won't be able to see the stars because the sky's gonna be black. So the astrology ain't gonna work. None of the stuff that folks have built their hopes and dreams on are going to work when you got them drones in the sky and them troops on the ground. So whether the Bible is real or not, it's kind of irrelevant. I can just guarantee that what you believe in ain't gonna work. We the gods of the earth until them drones are in the sky. We kings and queens until them troops on the ground. So I'm telling you right now, whether you all believe in the devil and the Bible or not, don't worry. The folks in charge do. So the folks in charge are serving Satan. So whether you believe in the Bible is I get it. You ain't got to believe in it, but they believe in the devil. So if you don't do nothing else, believe the devil is real. And if the devil is real, got some thinking to do. Got some things to address. But I can guarantee when them zombies are outside, them crystals and that sage smoke ain't going to work. Like I said, the zombies going to eat the crystals and smoke the sage. It's not going to work. So I don't know what you're going to do when you done put all your hopes and dreams and all this stuff and it don't work at the most intense moment of your life. At the most intense moment of your life, and that stuff don't work, what are you going to do? Most of you all are going to fold. I know you. Because you're going to say there's no hope. Because you're going to say if the crystals don't work, and you call your ancestors up, your phone ring, and you're calling them up, they ain't picking up no more. Conveniently, when the UN troops come, and the drones are in the sky, and the zombies running around, when you call your ancestors, they ain't going to pick the phone up. You remember the message, boo, 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 we're sorry. So when y'all call the ancestors in that time, they ain't going to pick up the phone. They ain't going to pick up the phone conveniently. When the world is falling apart and it's chaos everywhere and it's the purge, when you call your ancestors, we're sorry. The person you are trying to reach is not accepting phone calls at this time, conveniently. So it don't matter if the Bible is fake. They believe in the devil and everything they're doing is for Satan. So I advise you all to find another plan that involves something that's going to be able to fight Satan. Because I can guarantee them crystals and them chakras and that sage ain't going to do it. The stars ain't going to do it. Them cars ain't going to do it. None of this stuff, walking like Buddha ain't going to do it. Being a monk ain't going to do it. Being a nun ain't going to do it. Being a priest ain't going to do it. Being a pastor ain't going to do it. Being an Israelite ain't going to do it. Being a Moor ain't going to do it. Being a Christian ain't going to do it. I advise you all to figure out a way to go against this beast system and fight Satan. You better figure something out quick because it's coming. King Charles just said, no country can afford to fight climate change. We all got to come together. So we know that a one world government is coming. And if a one world government is coming, it's going to be a one world leader. Now, do you trust a global leader? Do you trust a global leader? Do you trust one man, probably going to be a transformer? Do you trust one man to rule the entire planet? Of course you don't. So you better come up with a plan and a strategy to fight the devil. That's who they're serving. So whether the Bible is real or not, don't worry about the Bible. You better have a plan. Now let me get back to this video because I'll go all day with this foolishness.
But now he wants to sit here and say the very people who accomplished that were accomplishing something beneficial when, in his own opinion, that wasn't beneficial and did more harm to the community than good. So I think that because we're having such a dishonest discussion where Black men don't want to take accountability for what they've done.
This strange chewy mineral regenerates your teeth and gums while you sleep. A revolution in the treatment of.
They want to be the victims of society, but then they want submission from the women. The bottom line is I'm not willing to deflect from the fact that, number one, Black men are the greatest non-white contributors to white supremacy. Let's just be real. White supremacy couldn't even exist without Black men's compliance. They're always uplifting whiteness, biracial children, and trying to assimilate. And that's why I went back to the notion of the only time Black men truly feel like there's a war against them is when they feel like they're being punished for something white men do. At the end.
All right. So you heard Cynthia G.
Now, I agree 100% with what she said. Now, my question is, if Black men aided white supremacy, and I've already said this, that Black culture was the ultimate goal of white supremacy. So if Black men have been contributors to white supremacy, then what have the women done? Now she's going to say, we followed your leadership. No, you didn't. Because Black men didn't start abortion. The greatest detriment to the Black race, is abortion. 1,000 abortions a day. And there aren't Black men saying do that. Margaret Sanger and the eugenicists said do it. So my question is, if Black men carried the baton of white supremacy, what did Black women do? They picked it up and they ran circles around it. Talking about 25 million aborted babies since 1973. We can't even talk about nothing else. And she promotes abortion. Now, I do agree with Black people complain about stuff that they feel like white folks get away with it. But if you go to any prison in America, you're going to see a bunch of white folks in there. You never hear Black folks saying, they won't let me be a CEO. You never hear Black women saying, they won't let me be a boss chick. They won't let me be a queen. You never hear Black men say, they won't let me be a king. They won't let me be a doctor. They won't let me be a lawyer. They won't let me. You never hear Black folks talking about white supremacy telling them that they can't be great. You hear Black folks complaining about what they feel white people can do. What does that sound like? That sounds like an inferiority complex. Now, somebody said, why turn it around on women? This is the problem with the average Black woman. I just said, I agree with Cynthia G. So if I'll say my statement again. I agree with Cynthia G. So if Black men are contributors to white supremacy, then what does that say about Black women? That means that they are contributors too. So that means that Black people as a whole are contributing to white supremacy. It's not gender-based. And you contribute to white supremacy via what? Black culture. Black culture is how you contribute to white supremacy. Somebody say Cynthia G is live now. Go listen to Cynthia G. Oh, she said, come over for the smoke. She said she want to talk with me. I need verification for that. Because I'll go over there. If she want to talk to me, I'll go over there. If she want to talk. You know. If she want to talk. At the end of the day, this is unchecked feminism. That's all it is. Most women are feminists. Because all the propaganda is feminist. All of it. All the propaganda that women get is feminist. All the leaders are feminists. Queen Elizabeth wasn't picked because she was a dynamic leader. It's feminism. We got women saying, because I'm born black, I'm a queen. All throughout history, there was some type of standard for being a queen until black girl magic took over being a queen. That is no more standard. That's right. She got to come on here. I gotta stop what I gotta stop what I'm doing to go over there now. She gotta come over here. I ain't gonna stop and do what I'm doing. Both men and women need to be sexually responsible. Again, when you talk like this, nobody wants to hear it. I've given a whole bunch of solutions and nobody wants to listen to them because they involve character. They don't involve pointing the finger. If you don't want to be a deadbeat dad, then don't be a deadbeat dad. Yeah. LaMel, tell her to send a request so she can come on. Because we can talk. But again, I said, I agree with what she said. And the person on here still said, why you put it on women? I'm telling you, because most women in America are feminists. They don't even know it because they never addressed the propaganda. Great question. Since when do queens abort their heirs to the throne? Exactly. What are we talking about? They are telling black women that they can be obese, loud, obnoxious, disrespectful, abort their babies, violent. I mean, look what they telling our women they can do. And then after all the smoke clears, it's a bunch of women pointing at black men. There are more single black mothers than there are black men with children. That's a fact. There are more black women single mothers than there are black men with children. How many women do y'all know that got multiple baby daddies? It's called being irresponsible. Future got 10 baby mamas. He shouldn't have had three. He shouldn't have had the third one. He shouldn't have had the third one. Since when do queens abort their heirs to the throne? That is a valid question. So again, I keep telling you all that being black is a constant state of confusion because it's a lie. It's not real. How you giving yourself credit for how you were born? She's black, so she automatically a queen. Based on what? You ain't led no kingdom. You ain't fought no wars. You ain't got no heirs to the based on what? Oh, I get it. Black girl magic. Want me to leave what I'm doing to go talk to Cynthia G? For what?
He's positioned there, which pretty much says that black men are responsible for the failure of the black community.
I think that
as laid out. Let me go ahead and play that, and then I'll come back and discuss.
So let's find out. Dr. Umar, what have black men done?
Well, number one, again, I think that it is such a shame coming from a psychological perspective that we seek to heal our wounds as a people by relying on unprofessional testimony by individuals who have a vendetta against the opposite gender in their community. When you hear Sister Cynthia speak, you can hear a hurt and a pain and a hatred towards Black men. We cannot find an effective solution to Black male-female relationship issues or the oppression of Black men or Black women when the people at the table having the conversation have negative emotional and pathological interests in the conversation that are not.
Umar, the question whether
a whole bunch of word salad. All you hear is black, 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 black man, black woman, black people, black dude, black, 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 black. And in 50 years from now, you can be talking like this. Come on, nobody care. 50 years from now, you're not going to be able to talk about all this black stuff, no race, no more. I can't stand white people. America's racist. 50 years from now, right now, all white people are racist. Everybody clap. 50 years from now, they setting y'all up. Dr. Umar Johnson give us a whole bunch of word salad. Black this, black that. He about to name drop all these people, and everybody he name dropped was a part of the system. And the moment they decided to step outside the system, they got their head knocked off. But let's go.
about my emotional state. The question was, what did Black men do in response to their disenfranchisement?
Did you know that in Texas, rifles can be carried in public without a license? Whereas in Florida, no open carrying.
Yeah, because you're trying to pathologize my emotional state, not knowing that I'm a psychologist too. But what you're not doing is telling us what Black men did.
I believe he'll get there, Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar.
And I'll end it quickly, Sister Tammy. According to Mrs. Cynthia G., Dr. King was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Malcolm X was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Medgar Evers was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Fred Hampton was assassinated because he was doing nothing. That narrative that Black men have done nothing to fight back against systemic oppression, not only against ourselves, but against our women, our children, our elders, and our community is absolutely ridiculous. The cemetery is filled with Black men, names we know and names we don't know, who gave their life for the freedom, liberation, and emancipation of African people. How can you disrespect the history of so many Black men, past and present, who continue to fight? I'm sitting in a school right now that we built with all Black money, 4 buildings that we're going to educate Black men in. It's not easy to solve our problems because there's always Black people in your very same community who's fighting against what you're trying to do to help it. But in addition to that, the white power structure is always waving its wand of oppression to try to sabotage anything we do. I think that the analysis of our
Let's be real right now. Tell me what Black people are doing that white people are trying to stop. What? What are Black people doing right now that white people are trying to stop? Tell me. What? Are there masses of Black people saying we want to have our own part of the country? No. Are there masses of Black folks saying we want to have our own school system? No. Our own medical system? No. Are there masses of Black folks saying we want to separate from America? No. What are Black people doing that white people are fighting against? Please tell me. Because you all want to convince me that y'all are doing so much that you got white folks trying to stop you. What are y'all actually doing? Dr. Umar Johnson, the postman, bought the school 10 years ago. And he just got the building, ain't there book in the school, ain't there child at a desk. Tell me, what are Black folks doing that got white people so afraid? Please tell me. You mean all the marches and protests that started by George Soros? The rich white Jewish man, those? Or you mean the civil rights movement Thought about the rich white Jews? Them? Tell me, what are black folks doing that's making white people so uneasy? Tell me. Give me something concrete that black people are doing solely from black people that are doing it to advance black people, and white folks are against it. We don't produce anything. We don't control anything. Someone said we don't manufacture anything. We don't own anything. What are black people doing that makes them a threat, not just to white people, but anybody? Everybody comes to your community and makes money. So what are you doing that's making everybody afraid of you? Please tell me. Can someone tell me, what are black people doing? Tell me, what are black folks doing that has white people afraid? Please tell me. Y'all dominate basketball and football. You don't own any of the teams. Jordan owned a team, but it's the sorry team in the league. You don't own, so you own one team in the NBA, and you own none in the NFL. All these record labels, and you own a couple. So in the industries that you all dominate the most, you don't own nothing. And when it comes to the prison system, that either. So in everything that you all quote unquote dominate in, you don't own it. So please tell me, what are you all doing or black folks doing that is a threat to white supremacy? Please tell me. The only people that are standing in your way is the white liberal. The white liberal. The average white person that has a family is not thinking about you. So if the average white, Hispanic, and Asian person does not concern themselves with anything black, then who is paying attention to black people? You got white conservatives, you got white liberals. Well, you all say the white conservatives don't care about you, so get them off the table. So the only group of people that concern themselves with black people are white liberals. So if black people are doing anything, the only group of people that would even care about what black people are doing is the white liberal. Now ask yourself, if black people are being stopped, and we just established that nobody else cares about black folks, then who's stopping them? Somebody said on Facebook, the same people that black folks vote for. Exactly. The white liberal. I know a bunch of white people that I talk to enough, and I ask them, do they concern themselves with what black folks got going on? And they look at me like I'm crazy. White people only know about black based on the media because most people don't interact with each other of all races. America is very segregated. I'm just trying to figure out for Dr. Umar Johnson, who is stopping black people? Who? Who is this mythical white dragon? In the never-ending story, there was a dragon called Falcor the Luck Dragon. It was a big white dragon, looked like a dog. So where's this big mythical white dragon not coming to bring good luck? Where's this mythical white dragon flying around, stopping black people from doing something? Now, the black folks I see stopped are the black people that don't go along with black culture. Those are the ones I see stopped. Those not going with going against black culture, going against the whole racism narrative, the whole racism America, all that's the white supremacy, all that narrative. Those are the ones that get censored. I don't see the person like Umar Johnson. He ain't censored. Cynthia G, she ain't censored. Cynthia G literally said black women should abort their babies, and she don't have no YouTube strikes. None. Dr. Umar Johnson get on the platform every day and say white folks are racist. No strikes. None. I say that Tiffany Haddish and Ari Spears made a pedophile video and I get a strike. My other strike came from talking about black culture. So what I'm seeing is you can talk about anything as long as you don't go against black culture. As long as you don't go against black culture, you can say whatever you want to say.
For women is too overly simplistic, and in being such, it is dishonest.
All right. So listening to Dr. Umar Johnson, he lays out, and I won't even deal with the fact that he said that, she's emotionally hurt and all of that, because that's not really in the argument, but he's pretty much trying to say it's pointless to have conversations with somebody like Cynthia G, and I'll agree. But let's go to the point in which I believe he established the fact that African-American men, black men, fought for the right for Cynthia G to even be where she is today. That's something that we can never take away from.
You look like the kind of person that likes to spice it up in the bedroom. And if so, I have the perfect recommendation for you.
Black men. And let me also say this. We can never take that away from black women. I am here today as a black American, African American, ADOS, FBA, if you want to consider that. What I do right now is because of those black men and women that came before me, period. Everything that I have, I owe women that gave me an encouragement. Sister Cynthia G is coming to church. I'm always, and that came up to Chicago.
I ain't trying to hear that. He finna get all emotional. I ain't trying to hear all that. Let me get another video. I got some video. I'm just trying to find them.
It is not a competition.
Bear with me, y'all. Just 1 second. I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up. Let me see. Yeah, let me try this one. Here we go.
It should be a collaboration. But once again, some of us in the conversation are so filled with hatred for the opposite gender that we can never get around to talking about solutions. And in speaking of clips, Sister Tammy, there is one clip you might want to ask Sister Cynthia about, because it was sent to me by about 30 people several months ago, maybe even weeks, where she suggested that women, black women, should abort their black men fetuses, because after birth, they would not contribute to anything worthwhile in the black community. Could you ask her to clarify her comment?
What?
If we're going to have a conversation, let's be honest.
You're the only one to be honest, Umar. You're not being honest.
Find the clip.
All I ask.
G, white supremacy, does it exist in your world?
I've heard Umar Johnson speak negatively about specifically the civil rights movement and how damaging it was to black people. But now he wants to sit here and say the very people who accomplished that were.
So what I'll say is about Cynthia G is I don't believe that Cynthia G is hurt or emotionally or hurt, nothing like that. I don't believe that. I believe that she got a peek and a glimpse in the black culture. She saw what I saw 2 years ago. Only difference is I didn't see it and say it was somebody else's fault. I saw what being black was and looked in the mirror. I didn't look outward, I looked at myself. So at the end of the day, what happens is people have different reactions to the truth. You can either accept it or reject it. She saw the truth and she rejected it. She knows good and well that the problem with all of this is is deep down inside being black. This is why she has the fake hair, the fake nails, the eyelashes. This is why. Because her even standard of beauty is something that's not her own. And people can say what they want to say, but wearing fake hair, I ain't talking about braids. I'm talking about fake, long, wavy, luxurious hair. Every day of your life is a self-esteem problem. It's self-esteem problem. So I know that not loving your natural self is a reflection of how you see yourself. Because ain't nobody white telling y'all do this to your hair. They're not. And I don't even think that she doesn't even like black men or any, I just really believe that she's starting to see the ills of black culture. And instead of looking in the mirror like I did, she's trying to blame somebody because she knows that she's been complicit in a lot of this foolishness. She know that she picked the men. I told y'all ladies, she picked bad man after bad man. I know how y'all date because y'all think y'all can get Future to be a saint, and it's insane. You think you can get Chris Brown to be a prophet? It's insane. It's just the delusion of women, and it's caused a lot by feminism. And feminism tells you that women are great no matter what they do. So that means a woman can make a bad choice and it's still good. This is feminism. I guarantee Cynthia G, they are the same type of guy as most of these women do. And when I speak like this, women get mad because they know it's true. I see a bunch of guys going after the same type of women. I got men telling me they didn't get the snake bite, but they're going to sleep with a woman that got the snake bite. Well, you still retarded. You didn't get the snake bite, but you're going to sleep with somebody that got the snake bite. Women, I didn't get the snake bite, but you're going to sleep with a guy that got the snake bite. That's the epitome of being double-minded. That's the epitome of being double-minded. Cynthia G is seeing black culture for what it is. And the answer is staring her right in her face when she pulls that wig off. When that wig is off, or them tracks is pulled out, she sees the truth. I don't love myself. You heard her say earlier, we got low self-esteem. She do too. So you can't say you against the jab and then sleep with somebody that got the jab. That same thinking has you all in a place you are now. Because you're being double-minded thinking, I can do it this way and still succeed. No, you can't. You can't make no deals with the devil. And then when I say don't have sex, people say I'm crazy. But which one is it? If I'm selling my people out, then why am I telling my people to practice better sexual behaviors? Ain't nobody else telling y'all that. So if I'm really against my people, why would I be telling them to preserve themselves for marriage? Why would I be telling the men, you know what? If you want a good wife, you got to do what? Be a good husband. How you going to even find a wife? How you going to even find a wife if you're not already thinking and acting like a husband? Before the woman even comes into the picture, how you even going to see wife if you ain't a husband? In action, in thought, in spirit. In mind, body, and spirit, you a husband. If you're not, how can you see a wife? Bunch of men that said that's wifey. Bunch of men that said that's wifey and made songs about it, but guess what? Didn't marry nan one of them. How is it that you saw wifey, but she ended up being a baby mama? How is it that you saw wifey, but she ended up being a notch on your belt. When I talk like this, everybody's quiet. But when I expose how the Russians say they're going to use black folk to take over America, everybody say I disagree. When I tell folk the civil rights movement was orchestrated, the Black Panthers orchestrated, all these movements were orchestrated, all of them. When I say this, I disagree. But when I tell the men to stop having sex and be what you require, everybody's silent. Mum's the word. No comments. No further comments, Your Honor. I'm going to let the defense rest. Cowards. Cowards. I tell the women, stop giving your womb, stop giving your essence to these low character men. Preserve yourself. Because a woman's worth is in her preservation, Cynthia G. Not her degrees, not her weaves, not her lace fronts, not her eyelashes, not her nails, not her BMW, not her Benz, not her house, not her career. Her worth is in her preservation. How much was she given to the streets? So when I tell women to preserve themselves, it's mum's the word. But when I expose how all this stuff is a setup and they're using that false black identity against you, I disagree. But when I'm giving you life-changing information, you don't say nothing. You cut me off. You tune me out. And then have the audacity to get on your soapbox and say that I'm a sellout and that you disagree. What are you disagreeing with? What are you disagreeing with? The truth or your spirit? Preserve yourself. Can't no man talk to me about nothing if he's not preserving himself. Umar Johnson dating strippers. He can't tell me nothing. He can't tell me nothing. He dating strippers. I'm building a school, but I date strippers. I'm building a school, but I'm messing with thoughts. I ain't listening to you. Cynthia G. Black men are the problem. Abort your baby. I'm not listening to you. Don't let your good deeds be evil spoken of. Well, I believe in some things in the Bible, not all of it. I ain't listening to you. You can have your cake and eat it too. I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening. I ain't got to get deep with y'all. If you double-minded, I'm not listening to you. Period.
Or accomplishing something beneficial when, in his own opinion, that wasn't beneficial and did more harm to the community than good. So I think that because we're having such a dishonest discussion where Black men don't want to take accountability for what they've done, they want to be the victims of society, but then they want submission from the women. The bottom line is I'm not willing to deflect from the fact that, number one, Black men are the greatest non-white contributors to white supremacy. Let's just be real. White supremacy couldn't even exist without Black men's compliance. They're always uplifting whiteness, biracial children, and trying to assimilate. And that's why I went back to the notion of the only time Black men truly feel like there's a war against them is when they feel like they're being punished for something white men do. At the end of the day, y'all dropped the ball. You're blaming white supremacy on your failures. We already know there's oppression, but Black women are double oppressed. We have more barriers to face. You have male privilege in a patriarchal system and you can't even get it right.
Well, Dr. Umar, I think we all know your stance on interracial marriages.
Absolutely.
So please acknowledge what the rest of what Cynthia G has said.
Absolutely. I'm not sure where Sister Cynthia took history class, but if you know anything about the transatlantic slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade was a European enterprise.
I'm talking about the sub-Saharan. I'm talking about the sub-Saharan slave trade. You should go look into it.
Excuse me.
You address me.
May I finish?
Go look into the
May I
sub-Saharan slave trade where black men are trading their women and children for
I
alcohol and
want a
tobacco.
monologue. May I finish?
Go ahead, Dr. Umar.
The transatlantic slave trade was a European enterprise. It was not an African enterprise, although there were some chiefs who participated in it. By no means did they control the direction and extension of the transatlantic slave trade. So that's number one. Number two, black men resisted enslavement, not only on the shores of Africa, but right here in America. We celebrate Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser. There's literally hundreds of documented attempts by African men to liberate not only themselves, but their women and their children. So to act like we just sat there and we're complicit in our own oppression is absolutely ridiculous. The other point I want to clarify for your information, Cynthia G, you never, ever heard me condemn the civil rights movement. The good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is a hero of mine. And despite me being a Pan-African nationalist, I take issue with other black nationalists who do want to dismiss Dr. King's accomplishment. The civil rights movement was necessary because it removed a psychological scar that suggested of racial inferiority. So you've never heard me deride the civil rights movement. I support it, although I took certain issues with it. The bottom line is, when black women, black girls, black boys listen to this conversation we're having today, they're going to be confused because they hear two brothers speaking of a greater context of the problems that affect black men, and you hear two intelligent, beautiful black women who want to keep scapegoating black men while ignoring the historical and contemporary systemic challenges that are constantly placed in our way. I'm going to say this and be quiet, Sister Tammy. I got to give you this. There was a recent piece of research, Tammy, that
Now again, Dr. Umar Johnson got a bunch of word salad. And I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this one more time. If I'm going to listen to you, I got to agree with how you live it. Okay. If I follow your lead, I have to agree with how you live. Otherwise, I'm not. So any man that is looking for someone to blame and it's not the person in the mirror is a coward. The slave trade was ran by the Jews, the Arabs, the Africans, and the indigenous. Everybody participated in the slave trade. You can't save face. Everybody participated. Everybody's crying now because they got the short end of the stick. But again, you can't make a deal with the devil and enjoy it. The civil rights movement, Black Panthers, Black nationalists, Pan-Africanists, NAACP, Black Caucus, Democratic Party, whatever you, it's all controlled. There are no independent Black movements taking place in America. I know it sounds hard to believe because they gave you the notion that you all were fighters, but they only told you that so that you would buy into the notion of oppressing yourselves and justifying it. I remember the great, she still is great, Ruby Tatum, Dr. Ruby Tatum Wallace. We were talking one day and we were having a meeting with the staff and they were saying how resilient Black people were. Black people were so resilient. We were so strong and resilient. And she burst everybody's bubble. And she said, Black people are not resilient. She said, for someone to be resilient would mean that you would face adversity and triumph over it. She said, Black folks aren't doing that. Black folks are facing adversity and crumbling. She said, these children aren't resilient. They're going to jail. They're doing drugs. They're selling drugs. They're killing. They're shooting. They're not resilient. They're succumbing to the pressures of the adversity. And when she told me that, this was back over 15 years ago, great woman, I realized then at that moment that this whole black, strong black, it's a farce. It wasn't real. It ain't real. And how we know it's not real? Because for 400 years, we've been crying and complaining. Who do y'all know has the energy to cry and complain for 400 years? Do you know how do you have the energy and wherewithal to say, I'm not tired of complaining for centuries? Y'all tell me we've been enslaved for 400 years, but it ain't true. But y'all say we've been enslaved for 400 years and we still crying and complaining. And you tell me it ain't got no better. That's a problem. Somebody lying. Either you truly are inferior to white people or you don't believe what you're saying. It's one of the two. Neither one good. You pick. You know, somebody said, I'm of indigenous descent. My family line hated black people. I don't know why that's funny. That's funny. Hold on.
That came out. And the research said a black man with a master's degree, they did a study. They had white males who had come out of prison apply for jobs. They had black men with master's degrees, Sister Tammy, apply for the jobs. And guess what? The white males with prison history and no education were called back more than 75% of the time than black men with no prison history and a master's degree.
I'm aware of that.
Now I'm going to ask you all a question. Do you honestly believe that a black man with a master's degree is lower on the job market scale than a white prisoner with no degree? Y'all believe that? Do you believe that a white prisoner with no education has more privilege than a black man with a master's degree? If you believe that, then to me, you shouldn't want to be black. If that's true, you shouldn't want to be black. They had a study, and this is what white liberals do, because it's them doing the studies. What they do is they do a study with no context. What job were they applying for? How do you know that the guy with the black guy with the master's degree wasn't applying to a job he was overqualified for? Thought about that? Have you thought about that the white folks in prison had a trade or a skill when they left prison? And all the black guy had was an education. You thought about that? You see, they never give you context because context takes away the outrage. They never give you context. If they did, you wouldn't be upset. What he's saying is propaganda to make you believe, then what's the point in trying? What's the point in going to college and getting a master's degree if a white guy come out of prison with no degree has a better chance than me? Then what's the point? Then what's the point? It is impossible to have self-esteem, self-value, self-worth under those conditions. You are not going to try in life if you believe if you give 110%, you're going to fail. We can't even get married because of that reason. One lady say marriage is for white people. We got black folks saying that marriage is for white people. Do you believe a white guy out of prison with no education got a better chance in the job market than you with a master's degree? Then you're stupid and you're dumb and you deserve whatever you get. I know how you all go into the job market. Man, them white folks didn't hire me because I was racist. Y'all go into them interviews terrified to sit in front of some white folks and they can smell it. They can see it. You're insecure. You're weak. You're scared and you're cowardly. You hope when you say the right things to them white folks give you a job. You ain't putting your best foot forward. You ain't trusting God. You hoping and praying and pleading that this white person hires you. God does not exist in desperation, black people, and never has and never will. Because when you're desperate, it means you don't have any faith. God does not exist in desperation because when you are desperate, it means you don't have any faith. It is impossible to please God without faith. They love telling you the Bible is fake. And you go out here and you go into the white interview and they can smell the sage on you. They can smell the shea butter. You go into that interview as cowards. You go into that interview, I hope they give me the job. I hope my black don't get in the way. Let me talk like this. Let me sit like this. Put on a different accent, different vernacular. You don't act like that. You don't talk like that. That ain't who you are. Y'all go into them interviews like a slave, terrified of them white folks. You know why? Because you already feel like you're oppressed. So how confident can a slave be in front of the slave master? Not very confident. Y'all love to say y'all still in bondage, but if you're still a slave, then you're not confident in front of the slave master. You might go out there and pick 50 bushels of cotton and you're still nervous. Because the slave master might say you should have picked 51. So when y'all go to them job interviews, you have no confidence. You walk in there subservient and weak and cowardly. You don't go with your head held high talking about let the chips fall as they may. You go in there like some cowards, groveling. I don't want to say the wrong. Instead of being honest, thinking them white folks can't see right through you. I see through you. I ain't even in the room. I see you all, and I'm not even in the room. I see you all around these white folks. Y'all change your whole persona. Talking about y'all slave, but you still wearing a mask. These same white folks telling y'all to do what they say do, and you doing it. But slavery was so bad. The solution has to be rooted in character. And you all seem to think that you all can solve these problems without looking in the mirror, and it's never going to happen. Dr. Umar Johnson gave this study. And y'all, and believe it because it sounds so good. If it's the Lord's will and I have children, I will never tell my children that white people have privilege. I will never tell my children that white people have privilege. I will never tell my children that there's white supremacy, ever. It won't even be a discussion. I will never sabotage my child's future by telling them that they are inferior to another race. I will never do it. I will never tell my children that you are enough, ever. I will tell my children that you are wonderfully and fearfully made by God. You are more than a conqueror. Who said that, Daddy? God. I will never subject my children to this utter foolishness, and garbage, because that's what it is. Creating low self-esteem in your children, and you wonder why they can't succeed. I will never tell my children that, ever. And if you do it, you're demonic and you're wicked and you're evil. White supremacy. You don't get out of here.
I am aware of that survey.
Women want to do to liberate themselves of the community. They can't do it without the men. It is not a competition. It should be a collaboration. But once again, some of us in the conversation are so filled with hatred for the opposite gender that we can never get around to talking about solutions. And in speaking of clips, Sister Tammy, there is one clip you might want to ask Sister Cynthia about, because it was sent to me by about 30 people several months ago, maybe even weeks, where she suggested that women, Black women, should abort their Black male fetuses because after birth, they would not contribute to anything worthwhile in the Black community. Could you ask her to clarify her comments?
I would love to. I would love to too, but we don't have time.
Well, if anyone really wants to know about why selective breeding will be the best thing for our community, then they can come to my channel where I explain that, as I also talk about the dynamic between Black men and Black women, and Black women's need to have standards, expectations, and boundaries when dealing, especially with Black men, but any man in general, and open up your options too. Put you first. Stop thinking about Black men.
Okay.
Now, when the moment of truth came and he asked her about that Cynthia abortion comment, we out of time. We out of time. It's accountability. We out of time. We out of time. When it comes to addressing what she said about abortion, we out of time. And she said, you want to know, come to my channel about selective breeding. What does she sound like? A slave master. I want that person to breed with that person. That sound kind of slave master like, don't it? Sound like a breeder, don't it? I want that person with that, like, don't that sound kind of crazy? If you listen close enough to a lot of these Black women, they sound like white supremacists. You want to be honest with, if you want to be honest. You listen to them long enough, they talk like the eugenicists. Very thin line between selective breeding and deserving and saying who deserves to live and who doesn't. She already agrees with abortion. She already agrees with abortion. And hold on. I'm gonna play one more clip and then we out of here. All the Black girl magics fight for abortion. All the Black girl magics, think about it. All your Black female leaders support abortion. All of them. 25 million babies been aborted since 1973, and every Black woman leader supports abortion. That ain't strange. How could all of them have the same thoughts on abortion? I'll tell you, the same way all these women say, I'm different, but do the same things. Take the same type of pictures, same type of hair, get the same type of bags, same type of, it's all the same, but they all saying they're different. Ain't that crazy? Now, you know good and well her background. What's up, Mimi? Her background will sum up everything. You said the other woman is a man. Somebody on the panel is transgender? Don't tell me that. Please don't tell me that someone on the panel is transgender. Please don't tell me that. Please. Don't tell me that. We're going to end on one thing, and then we out. I might revisit this one more time. Man just said the survey said.
There are certain moments in life.
The survey said.
Both tiny.
Boy.
What role should race play?
This is my last one, y'all. And thank y'all for giving me y'all time on this Sunday. I really appreciate it. I love you all, and I thank y'all so much for this. The goal is always to uplift and edify. If you're telling me that that woman is a transgender, I will do a whole other live on that the next time. I'm going to check out and see if that woman on that panel is transgender, and I am going to do a whole other live on the fact that they have a transgender talking about issues between black men and black women, which should let you know that like I said, the LGBTQP, don't forget X, Y, and Z community is going to take over black culture. And that will be proof of it if that person on that panel is transgender. Y'all should be outraged and offended that a transformer is speaking on issues between black men and black women specifically. Let's watch this real quick and I'm gone.
When it comes to college admissions, how much of a role should race play? That question back in the news this week. For the first time in Harvard University's history, the majority of students accepted into the incoming freshman class identify as non-white, 50.8% to be precise. But at the same time came news that the Department of Justice is investigating allegations the school is denying places to qualified Asian American students. VJ Jojo Chokolingam, now the head of admissions consultant at Interview.
Now, I did a video on my page a couple of years ago about how the Asians were claiming discriminations, but they make up 25% at that time, 25 to 30% of the student body at Harvard. The Asians make up 5% of the US population, but they make almost 30% of the student body at Harvard, and they were claiming discrimination. So what happened was they were allowing applicants to come in and they were saying, okay, we want non-black people to apply because Harvard is a woke hub. Harvard is the hub for wokeness. So all your boule black people go there. Harvard is the Jews. Harvard is a woke hub. So all this liberalism and this communism and stuff, them folks go to Harvard. So Harvard is a hub. So what Harvard said was, we want more non-white people to come. So what did people start doing on the application? They started putting down, well, I ain't white then. I ain't white. So the Asians were saying that the Asians can't come out and say, well, they're just accepting folks because they're not white. The Asians got to say, we're being discriminated against. But really what the Asians are saying is, y'all are allowing non-qualified applicants based on race to get into this school. Meanwhile, the Asian students actually meet the requirement and we're being pushed out. That's what they were really saying. Because you all don't get offended when people say stuff like, oh, you don't have to qualify, just be black. That makes y'all feel good. See, y'all the folks on the team that the parents got mad when every child didn't get a trophy. Why my child didn't get a trophy for MVP? Because your child wasn't the MVP. Like, so y'all not offended by that. I am. I don't want anybody giving me something based on something I can't control. How you gonna give me something based on because you say I'm black? Now you finna give me a handout. That's disgusting. But black folks don't mind that, because when you feel that low about yourself, it's a compliment. Because you done put white folks on such a high level to where when they even throw you a crumb down, you celebrate. Somebody said Harvard has a policy that only allows so many Asians in. I can see why. If they didn't, the Asians would dominate the school. They dominate. They take it over. Even though Harvard got a contract with China, even though Harvard is working with China, that's all the smoke screens. I know for a fact Harvard working with China and working with that snake bite. I know that for a fact. But anyway, let's get started.
View SOS has a unique experience with this topic. An Indian American, he realized the only way that he would be accepted at med school would be to pass as black. An Indian American admissions consultant at Asian American students, VJ Jojo Chokolingam, now the head of admissions consultant at Interview SOS, has a unique experience with this topic. An Indian American, he realized the only way that he would be accepted at med school would be to pass as black. He chronicled his experiences in his book, Almost Black, the true story of how I got into medical school by pretending to be black. VJ Chokolingam joins me now. So you were studying statistics at...
How could America be what you all say it is, and a person utter out their mouths, the only way for me to get into medical school is to be black? As I said before, no one ever says that America's so racist, they won't allow me to be a doctor or a lawyer or a scientist. We only say America's racist when they say we can't do what white people do, and it's bad stuff. It's not good stuff, it's bad stuff. How could America be racist for an Indian person to look at America and say, if I want to go to medical school, I got to be black? Let's continue.
At the University of Chicago, and you say to yourself, I don't stand a chance with my 3.1. What did you do?
Well, I shaved my head, I trimmed my eyelashes, and I decided to join the organization of black students so I could apply to medical school as a black man. I also used my middle name, Jojo. I subsequently interviewed at medical schools across the country and managed to get waitlisted at Washington University and the University of Pennsylvania, then ranked the second and the third and fourth best medical schools in the country, and got into St. Louis University School of Medicine, despite the fact that my pretty pitiful 3.1 GPA was dramatically lower than their average of 3.7. Now, I wanted to mention a statistic you mentioned earlier in the program, which is that the majority of Harvard is now a minority. And I don't think that's true. I think that's very deceptive, because I think you're forgetting about the Pocahontas factor. And that is that there's a large number of people who are whiter than winter in Alaska who pose as minorities based on flimsy reasons. And as a result, it skews the statistics.
I told you, I've never watched this interview. I've never watched this interview. I've never watched this. Never watched the interview. Watched it. I knew that was happening. Folks was putting down, I'm not white. Now, this man told you what it meant to be black. I shaved my hair, I trimmed my eyelashes, and I went by Jojo. That's what it means to be black. To be black is to be controlled. It's so controllable that if a person wants to be black, they can just put the kid on and be black. But the funny thing about this is, when he was black, he got into medical school. But when y'all black, y'all going to jail. Make that make sense. How is it when he's black, he gets into medical school, but when you all are black, you get fired from your job? Make it make sense. How is it that when he's black, he goes to medical school, When you all are black, y'all get shot by the police. Make it make sense. The man summed up what it meant to be black. He shaved his hair, clipped his eyebrows, went by JoJo, and he was black. To be black is to be controlled. How do you know it's controllable? Because a person can imitate it and be successful at it. When you all are black, you can't get ahead in life and you got a bad credit score. When he was black, he got into medical school with a bad GPA. Now, when you all are black, y'all just have bad grades and don't go anywhere in life. But when he was black, he had bad grades and went to medical school. Just make it make sense for me. Make it make sense for me how this man could be black and get a privilege and you're black and you oppressed. Just make it make sense. Just make it make sense for me. I know you all to get upset with me. Blanchard, how dare you? This is cultural appropriation. He's stealing. He's lying. He can't be black. He'll never share the experiences, but he did. He said, I'm going to trim my eyebrows, my eyelashes, get a fade, call myself JoJo. I'm going to be black. That means everybody looking at me sees a black person, and I'm going to see what happens. And when he did that, and the world perceived him as black, he got his doctorate. Now, you all are saying that white supremacy is holding you back, and you can't do nothing. You're still in slavery. But this man became you for a couple of years and got his doctorate and his career started. I'm just asking you all to make it make sense for me. Just make it make sense for me, and I promise I'll shut up. How could this man be black and be successful, but you're black and you're oppressed? Okay, let's continue because I got to go.
Statistics because they know that it can improve their chances of admission. So self-reporting of statistics that a minority, I don't think that's necessarily the best data to use.
So, VJ, what you're saying is that you didn't just check a box. You went full on Tootsie, and there are others out there who may not adopt the personification of a particular group, but they're checking the same box in the same way.
I'm an independent admissions consultant. I have so many clients who, they have an African-American great-great-grandfather, their great-great-grandmother was Hispanic or something like that. And for very flimsy reasons, they call themselves minority because they know it's going to improve their chances of admissions. So we cannot ignore the Pocahontas factor when you look at that statistic that 51% of people at Harvard are saying that they're.
Well, listen, because you are using the nick.
He didn't say, he said 51% of the people coming into Harvard. 51% of the folks coming into Harvard are non-white. 50.8% are non-white. So let's get clarification. Folks don't want to listen.
Nickname, let's go there. You've said that what Lincoln did vis-a-vis slavery, Trump will do vis-a-vis affirmative action. Explain.
I believe that President Trump, by appointing conservative anti-affirmative action justices and by using the Justice Department to go after the colleges and universities, I believe that he will end affirmative action like Lincoln ended slavery. As you know, Bob Jones University many years ago lost its nonprofit status because of its racist policies. Similarly, when it comes to the issue of affirmative action, the colleges and universities have pleaded guilty as charged. They publicly endorsed racial discrimination in the form of affirmative action in the Fisher case. Therefore, the Trump Justice Department could use, with the Supreme Court, could effectively force the universities to end their racist affirmative action policies by forcing them to lose their federal funding. So as I said, President Trump will end affirmative action like Lincoln ended slavery.
And I want to put on the screen a pie chart that
And so basically what this guy is saying is that the colleges have admitted that they were allowing people to come into college simply based on their race or their skin color. That means they weren't qualified. So Black folks accept this kind of stuff because you feel inferior. There's no way you would say, I deserve something I didn't earn if you didn't feel inferior, if you didn't feel like you wouldn't be successful doing it the right way. It's funny to me that all these Black folks crying and complaining about the system of education don't want to go to Black colleges. They never want to go to Black colleges. They always want to go to white colleges. Why do they always want to go to a white college that's so racist? All these Black folks that hate America, that say America's racist, why don't they go to a Black college? Why do they always go to a white school? I'll tell you why. Because they know deep down inside that that white school is going to be run more efficiently than the Black school. That's why they do it. You see, these people really just want the attention of white people. They want white folks to pay attention to them. They don't really have any demands. They just want white folks to acknowledge them. They really just want a hug. I say this all the time. Black people want a hug. Dear white people, if you want to do some charity, find 5 random Black people and ask them, can you give them a hug? And they're going to say yes. Dear white people, go anywhere in America, find 5 random Black people, say, I want to give you a hug, and they're going to say yes, and you're going to change their lives. No mission work, no charity work. Just go and give them a hug, and that will change their life. A hug from a white person will do more for Black folks than any program from the government. I'm just telling you all. That's how they feel. They want a hug. But again, these universities are telling people you can't get into school even though you're qualified, but they can because we feel they're oppressed and inferior. I wouldn't accept it.
shows the breakdown of this incoming class at Harvard. And I want to ask you a question. 22.2% Asian American. How many Asians
Now look at this. Class of 2021, I think 11.6% Latino, 14.6% African American, 22.2% Asian, 49.2% white. The irony of this graph and this chart is this is a great reflection of America. Black people are 12%, but they're 14.6% of the Harvard class 2021. That's good. Asian Americans are 5%. They're 22% of Harvard class. That's good. Latinos are more than 11%, but they're still around there, you know, around the area of their population in the United States at 12%. Whites are 50%. Like these statistics, these numbers represent America. All you can ask for is for a company or agency to represent what America is. And I believe that this does a great job. This does a great job. To me, it represents America. Even though Harvard is full of all this BS, all this wokeism, you know, it's a communist development headquarters, but they do represent what's in America.
Are too many Asians for the Harvard incoming class? Should there be any limit whatsoever? What if on the merits, if you go by GPA and SAT score, you could fill the entire class at Harvard with Asian Americans? Should they do so?
Okay. First of all, there is a multifactorial admissions process. There are 9 criteria, including grades, test scores, letters of recommendation, essays. So I'm not saying that grades and test scores should be the only consideration. The second thing is data can easily be manipulated. I'm a CFH Harvard holder, but I can assess that. But The simple point is that as an Asian American, it is harder to get into college or graduate school than any other racial category. In every place where the data is available, it is consistently harder for an Asian American to get in. I used the example earlier of medical school admissions, where it was 50% easier to get into medical school as an Asian American compared to an African American. So statistical data, there is no rationalization for racism. Affirmative action is a system of legalized racism. It is a racial classification system that changes people's chances of admission to college or graduate school, and there is no justification for it.
But Vijay, you understand you understand the point that I'm trying to make, which is to say that from the perspective of the admissions office, they are seeking to assemble a diverse student body. And if Asians on the merits could dominate the class, they might not want to do that, because that therefore detracts from the ability of having equal representation of all groups. You get the final word as long as you make it quick.
I'm glad that you brought up that point. I had the opportunity to go to UCLA, which is a school that doesn't practice affirmative action in admissions. We had a diverse class of African Americans, Hispanics, Asian Americans, and whites with a rich educational experience without practicing racial discrimination in the form of affirmative action. So I don't want anyone to believe that affirmative action racism is essential to a good education.
Understood. Vijay, Jojo.
So you heard what this man said. He essentially said that just because you have affirmative action doesn't mean you're necessarily going to have a quality school. In other words, the quality of the school is determined by its diversity. It should be determined by the merit of its students. He said UCLA did not practice affirmative action and the student body was diverse. Whereas at Harvard, you're trying to force student diversity as a wokeism agenda. So you can say that our school is multicultural, but the students, how many of those students are able to stay at the school? How many of those students are able to perform under those pressures? How many of the students are qualified to go to those schools? So what you're doing is you're essentially saying that Black people can operate from a lower standard and get rewarded for it. That is demonic and satanic. Telling Black children they cannot meet the mark but get to go to the best schools is satanic and demonic. And the governor of the state of Oregon says there are no criteria for Black and brown students to graduate from high school. It's absolutely insane. They're telling you to accept mediocrity. Why are we doing it? You got LeBron James saying strive for greatness, and then turn around and saying let them into school because they don't meet the standards, but they're Black. It's the double-mindedness, it's the hypocritical nature of Black culture. How are we lowering a standard for a group of people and then rewarding them for it, as if it won't be a setup in the end? Because the more you lower the standard, the less the children are going to try. So why go to Harvard if I don't have to go to college? If the standard is low, it's low. If the standard is low, it's low. So this man is saying that affirmative action is racist because you're denying qualified students based on race and you're accepting unqualified students based on race. And when the studies came out, the study showed that affirmative action benefited white women the most. How ironic. How ironic. How ironic that a group of people that claimed to have the highest standards on the planet, they claim to be so better than white people, love accepting handouts from white people that express their inferiority. I want you to let me go to this school, not because I'm qualified, but because I'm Black. It's disgusting. And this guy right here said, well, if I want to get into medical school, if I'm just Black, I can do it. And he did it. And the funny thing is, there were some actual Black students that dropped out and he didn't. There were some actual Black students that got in because they was Black and dropped out and he didn't. What you all are going to find is it's never been about race. It's always been about the character of the individual. This man is not black, but the moment he was black, his life changed for the better. The moment this man became black, his life changed for the better, but you all claim being born black made your life worse. The only difference is the individual's perspective on life. He saw black as empowering, you see black as inferior and a hindrance. That's the difference. I might do a part 2 to this, you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know I kept you all a long time today, but I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. I want y'all to have a blessed day. Thank you. Bye, YouTube.